Check this out. The sun went down when I hit Slauson. On my way to the strip. Now I'm just flossing. This nigga's
Welcome to the second day of events out here at the FISE World Series 2018. It's stop number 1, and you see it in the bottom right corner of your screen, and on those beautiful pictures right there, it's Hiroshima, Japan. So excited and elated to come all the way out here to the beautiful country of Japan and host our first stop of the FISE World Series. My name is Ryan Meyer. I am the host out here on tour, joined by none other than Lionel Cordosa. Lionel, thank you so much for joining me in the box.
So happy, so grateful to be here in Flatland, Jamaica to watch these awesome first stop finals. Just can't wait.
We are about to get ready to host you the UCI BMX Flatland World Cup Finals. You see the competitors out there right now. And we do have a bunch more stops coming your way. Let's check out the FISE World Series map for 2018. We're live right now from Hiroshima, Japan. As you see there, it's 8th to 6th of April. And for our second stop, it's going to be for the 21st year in a row, Montpellier, France. May 9th to 13th is stop number 2. Moving for the second time to over to Edmonton, Canada, July 13th to 15th. Then over back to Europe. Budapest, Hungary, stop number 4 of the tour for September 7th to 9th. And finishing off in China, like we always do, in Chengdu, November 2nd to 4th. Make sure you guys mark those stops on your calendar and make sure you guys tune in for all the action. We would love to see you guys live out there, so tune in and make sure you're able to make it to one of those stops. If you are not able to make it to one of those stops, however, make sure that you guys follow us online and on social media. You guys can check out a lot of cool instant content on our Facebook, on our Instagram, but as well our YouTube. You see those respective handles in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on social media and posting some content from any of the stops right now, make sure you hashtag FISE Hiroshima. That's FISE_HIROSHIMA. And as well, check out our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and type in FISE, that is FISE. You can get a lot of behind-the-scenes content and replayed video content from all the action that is happening. As well, we have full results postings. You can get all the other information for the next stops if you check FISEWorldSeries.com. I'm as well joined, not just by Lionel, but another BMX host, Daryl Now. Daryl, thanks for joining us in the box.
Ryan, I gotta tell you, it's a big honor to not only be here with our official host, being yourself, but also with Mr. Lionel Cardoza, legend of BMX Flat. Little fun fact, Lionel is actually our first winner all the way back in 1997 at the first ever FISE. So Lionel, it's a huge honor to be sitting in the booth with you as well.
Thank you.
And as we are going to watch some beauty shots out here, maybe you guys, as the expert BMXers, can let me know what the format is of this Flatland contest.
It's going to be one run of 3 minutes for each of these guys. And we have our 8 finalists. There were 16 yesterday for the semifinals. 3 minutes is quite long, but, you know, they got a lot of actions coming for sure. And that's going to be a tough one for the judges, as those guys could all win today. They really all have it in them. And they started at 38 riders, you know, for the qualifiers. And 20 of those guys could have been on the podium today. So, you know, it's really high level, especially here in Japan, which is Flatland Mecca. And we're all honored to be here, you know, as Flatland riders. Definitely.
We talk about how the riding field is so heavy all the time, but as well, we have to have a very expert panel of judges. Maybe you guys can walk me through who's going to be scoring these Flatland athletes up there.
Oh boy, legendary riders from the top. We got Kotaro from Japan on the left of the screen right there. Incredible rider. He's been a staple of the Japanese scenes for so many years. Just awesome rider all around. The French judge right here, Alexis Desaulniers, been riding for almost 30 years, which is a big feat in itself, you know. And still killing it on the bike. And Marty Kuopa, multiple times S-Game medalist. He's won all of the contests, including the flat art here in Japan, which is crazy since he had retired for 2 years and came back and won it like straight up. So you know those guys know what they're doing. They know Flatland in and out. They've been creating most of these tricks that you're gonna see today. So
we talk about how there's so many different competitors out here in the Flatland category. Especially yesterday, we had so much action happening on course. We actually had a rain delay from day 1 of 3 out here, so everything had to be pushed back to yesterday, which made for a very heavy action-packed session of all competitions. But out here in Japan, how is the Flatland culture received?
it is a big part of the BMX scene. It's actually bigger than park and street and dirt and all the other disciplines. I guess it has to see with the culture, you know, the people doing things here. When they do something, they go all the way, you know. And that's I guess that's why Flatland Code Up and is so big here in Japan.
And there you have a look at yesterday's top qualifier from the semifinals, or top finalist from the semifinals, Mr. Matthias Dandois.
Yes, back in top form this year, back with a vengeance. The last couple of years for him have been a bit rough, as he was a little bit into that same old routine, while the other guys kept progressing over the years, such as Jean-William Prevot, who's won all the contests last year. And now Matthias is back with new tricks, changing his old routine, and that's what the judges want. That's why he won the qualifiers yesterday, the semifinals, sorry.
I guess that motion picture role is maybe giving him a little bit more professional drive, as we say. Anyways, let's go down to our live MC, do a little rider introduction with the Japanese audience.
そして自転車の扱い、バイクコントロール、そしてエクスキュージョン、まあ練り上げという部分となっていきます。皆さん、またライディング始まったらこの後紹介します。
Okay, the first rider on this BMX freestyle BMX Flatland Walker Flatland. Please welcome Mr. Takehiro Ikeda.
まず予選第8位で通過しました日本代表スピンマスターです。
From Japan, of course. He comes from Chile, only 22 years old. Please make some noise for Mr. Benjamin Hudson!
南米はチリからベンジャミン・ハドソン、本当にスムースで綺麗な動きが持ちどころです。
Come from Japan too, 32 years old. Please make some noise for Mr. Moto Sasaki!
さあ、そして世界チャンピオンに何度も輝いています。今回の初の公式世界チャンピオンも狙っています、佐々木元。
From Canada, 31 years old. Make some noise for Mr. Jean-William
今年1
Prevot!
年間招待選手が全てを回っていきます。昨年度のフィゼシリーズチャンピオンです。ジャン・ウィリアム・プレボスト。
From France, Bayard, Montpellier, 40 years old. Please make some noise for Mr. Alex
さ
Dublas!
あ、そしてこのフィゼをもう企てた人間の一人ですね。このレジェンド。さあ、自ら参戦してきます、アレックス・ジュメニ。
From Japan too, 40 years old. Please make some noise for Mr. Morizaki
さあ
Wada!
そしてキングという愛称でもう世界最高の難易度の高い技を持っています。決めればこの男が勝ちます。キング森崎宏也。
From Spain, been in Luxembourg until 37 years old. Please make some noise for Mr. Vicky Gomez!
さあスペインからのビッキー・ゴメス、技数バリエーションの多さ、この男が一番多いです。どんな戦い方するんでしょうか。
He went the qualifying to semi-final yesterday. He comes from France, Paris, 28 years old. Make some noise for Mr. Mathias
さあ
Dandois!
そしてこのフィセの看板ライダーマティアス・ダンドアが予選1位通過の順番でライディングを行っていきます。
Okay, this is the top 8. We're gonna start in 1 minute, guys, with
Wow, and that is exactly what we have been seeing time and time again in all the different disciplines out here in Japan. We are seeing more often that the Japanese athletes are stepping out to turn heads and push on top of the podium. As we see there, 2 Japanese competitors making their way into the finals out here, but very respectively on top as well.
Now, Ryan, not only do we have our Japanese riders in the event, you can feel the energy of our Japanese fans flooding into the park. The energy and excitement for all of our riders out here. I know, Lionel, you were talking about the appreciation for Flatland and the art of it, and you can just tell by our enthusiastic crowd.
Oh, look at that crowd, you know, it's just beautiful to see all these people, either knowledgeable or not, you know, just here to appreciate the passion these riders are about to display. And we definitely got the best riders today.
Ikeda Takahiro going to be starting off, then Benjamin Hudson, Mota Sasaki, Jean-William Prevot, Alex Jumelon, Hiroya Morizaki, Vicky Gomez, nice to see him there in second place, and Matthias Dandois going to be rounding off the top 8 right there.
Now, one thing to note, we did have a lot of international flags, but we have 3 Japanese flags here. In the finals, you talked about there being 38 in our qualifier. The fact that FISE is a global event and we've had Flatland all around the world, it just shows how much Flatland's appreciated. The fact that we had one of our largest qualifiers ever for BMX flat. And to make it here, like you said, it's an achievement within its own, but the fact that 3 Japanese riders is very exciting. So right now we can see 3 minutes are on the clock. Now, Lionel, you being a Flatlander yourself, winning the first ever FISE, what's going through a rider's mind right now as they're getting ready to start off the first event with that timer?
Right now, to them, the first link is the confidence link. It gives you the confidence for the rest of the run, and that's if they pull that one combo, they know they might have a good day, you know.
So what you're talking about when you say link, that means putting together different tricks?
Exactly. As you can see here, he's already done 3 or 4 different tricks in the same combo, the same link, linking tricks together into a combination of tricks. A bit of a rough start for Ikeda here. They call him the spin master. You're gonna see he's going real fast, doing lots of spinning moves.
You know, when we talk about Japan, the one thing that really comes to mind, regardless of sports, is just flashy lights and absolutely incredible individuality. And this is something that Ikeda really dominates on. As you see, he has a different bike style, a different riding style. Everything kind of encompasses his own characteristics as he comes out there. On
Definitely. I think that's what also appeals to the Japanese riders is the creativity side. You know, they look at that. He's gonna jump over. Huge move out of Ikeda, nailing that one combo. It's been having a bit of a hard time on the first 2 links, but is back on the game.
Wow, so Lionel, he was on his back tire, and it almost looked like he was charging up his bike. It went for almost like a Super Mario style hop.
Yeah, look at that. Another one.
Wow.
Such a signature move right there out of Ikeda. Just going crazy. Look at that on the pedals.
Wow. Now,
Rolling
Ryan,
backwards.
You talked about style being so unique out there. Lionel, we're seeing him do these rotations where he's just spinning on his back tire, but he's getting into this really unique body positioning.
Totally.
Now, is that something that every rider will kind of find their own, or is this unique to Ikeda?
He's found his voice, you know. He's found his way, and this is it. Look at that. This is like He's the only one to do that kind of moves, switching on the pedals. Incredible move right there. And this is all his own. You know, he's the only one in the circuit doing this.
So when he's contorting his body into that unique position, does that change the difficulty at all?
Totally, as you can see, he's backward facing when he's spinning on the pedal, which is a really hard balance point right there, you know. You're up there, really fighting against your frame, pedaling with the hands. Look at that.
Wow, I've never seen that one before. Ikeda really busting out some new unique moves.
Yes. And pulling it too. Look at that. This
He went up on the pedal and then onto the frame right there.
This is just incredible. Such mind-blowing moves out of Ikeda.
So now we're seeing the clock with 10 seconds left.
5, 7, 6.
No hands.
And he's pulling it clean right before the buzzer, and that's gonna be it for him. What a run out of Ikeda.
Now, I want to ask you, Lionel, we just saw some really cool, unique style. We talked about unique tricks, and you said finding his own voice, and almost a signature to him, right? So for any rider out there, whether it's park or street, if you have that, it's almost the highest compliment you could get, even on a vert ramp. So the fact that we're seeing this unique style right there, jumping over the top tube, he did have a couple of touchdowns, not right there when he jumps over, but how much will that impact? Because we're seeing some really unique, cool style here, but how important does it weigh if you have any mistakes or not?
It's all going to be down to the other riders if they pull their tricks or not, because as I said earlier, they're all on the on the same page, you know. They have different styles, and that's what's hard to judge. That's what's hard for the judges.
But are you penalized a lot if you touch down, or is creativity a higher factor?
Right here today for Ikeda, the problem was he didn't pull most of his combos. You know, he only pulled 2 or 3, if I remember well. So that might make the difference, you know, compared to the other guys. If the other guys pull all of their stuff, well, he's going to be down on that result board.
Well, we are going to find out what our judges think as scores are waiting to come on in. We are going to get in. Puzzle Ikeda right there is wondering as well. So look at that, Ryan, a 64.33.
And that's going to be the first score on the board, and we're going to have to see how it's going to hold up as our next 7 top Flatland athletes go and compete there on course. Benjamin Hudson right there, you see on the warm-up.
Yes, the youngest rider in these finals, but nonetheless really talented, has a really bright future ahead of him. As you're gonna see here, different style from Ikeda, front wheel master, and has that liquid flow, like where each trick melts into the other. This is really particular style for Benjamin. It's really noticeable that he's still young, but already has found his voice.
Yeah, 23 years old, Santiago, Chile. I just had an opportunity to go down there last week and see the BMX scene. It is enormous. You have all different styles represented. You have the Zarita brothers, Coco Zarita, the famous vert ramp rider, and his brother Wani Zarita. But right now we're seeing Benjamin Hudson bringing some of that South American flavor here all the way to Hiroshima.
What a great start. Look at that, switching on the front wheel, going cross-legged and pulling it. Wow, this is awesome out of Benjamin. And as I said, this is the confidence link, you know, that first combo that if you pull, you know you're on a good day.
So Hudson had a great 2017. He actually got podium. He was 3rd place in our overall series. And Hudson looking to move up in the rankings at our first stop here. This is our first stop of 5 where we are going to be a points race. So every rider wants to get as close to the top, if not that #1 spot. And look at this right here.
Incredible. Benjamin Hudson pulled it. that one move right before he pulled it, turbining cross-footed, was just incredible.
Now, you talked about the idea of the confidence. You see right there, he jumped very cleanly to his pedals. You could just see it just smashing it at the end of the link. You know, that's something the judges definitely want to see, where you have that confidence on there and you're not kind of getting wobbly, barely putting your feet to the pedals.
Exactly that. He's having a bit of a hard time today, you know, like hit and miss, but his staple tricks are right there. Look at that. No, just one-ended.
Look at that. He's just gliding on that front wheel. Now you can see he's bouncing up and down a little bit. What does that do?
He's pumping, getting his speed back, you know, so he doesn't remain static.
So he generates speed, is what you're saying?
Exactly. And that's keeping the movement going is what keeps him on the bike. That's the secret right there. Because it's harder to be static and, you know, not moving. Look at that cross-leg wheelchair. And he has a really low seat, so he's grabbing that rear tire, and that also gives him that unique style, that unique Benjamin Houston moves that he's known for.
So right there, he was about 25 seconds, 30 seconds into his link, and he wound up stepping off the bicycle. Will that discredit the entire link?
Not really, because he still had some hard moves in there.
Okay.
But if he had pulled it, obviously would have had a lot more points in the judges' eyes. Look at that, yes, whipping the hitchhiker and pulling it clean into a mouth whooper out. Wow.
So final thoughts here as clock 3,
And that's good.
2, 1. And time. Big round of applause here. The Japanese loving the South American, Benjamin Hudson.
Oh yeah, you gotta love that style for sure.
Benjamin, serious face. I think he's not incredibly happy with that run, but we'll have to see how the judges score that one. You know, Benjamin is a very expressive rider as well after his runs are finished, so you usually know if he's very happy with his run or not.
Totally.
So now we're looking under the hood of his run. Now he's on that front wheel right there.
So beautiful how he spins it around.
How different is that being on the front wheel as opposed to the back wheel, Lionel?
The back wheel is a bit different. It's fixed, you know. It doesn't move. The front wheel, you know, with the fork element and the frame spinning around, is a different balance point. Might be a bit harder to control, especially he does a lot of his moves one-handed, only holding the bars with one hand. And that's harder to control, you know, in the end.
So score coming in right there, it's going to be a 60.66. He's going to currently be sitting in second place. Again, it is one score that will come in. Each rider will have 3 minutes on the clock trying to get the best of a 100-point score. And we're not going to really see the full picture until we go through. Our 8 riders are actually in reverse order from their qualifying yesterday, meaning Matthias Dandois was our top qualifier.
Yes, and now is Moto Sasaki's run, 33 years old. A staple of the Japanese scene, you know, is one of the few that's been traveling around, so he's really well known on the international scene. There is so much talent in Japan, and unfortunately most of them just don't, you know, travel around. But look at that, this is pure Moto Sasaki moves right there. That Carl Cruiser cross. Yes, cross leg.
Wow, look at that style, just dipping that front end down.
I love that way that Moto just dips that handlebar, and so the bar end is just grazing the floor surface as he spins around.
Now, Ryan, something you mentioned, we talked about the bike style.
Yes.
So far, we've had 3 riders on the course.
Yeah,
and each
completely different setup.
Totally different.
Like you see that traditional Flatland setup from Ikeda with different frame geometry and different links for how it comes around. Then you have Benjamin with maybe a more new school style, super low seat. Then you have Moto right here. More, it looks like a street influence BMX style.
He's having a killer run right now, just pulling each and every of his combos. That's just awesome. to see.
When you say a street influence style as far as the setup goes, that just means some of the angles and geometry on the bike. You can see generally in Flatland, sometimes the dropouts or wheels will be set in a position where you're dealing with less of a variance if your bars are forwards or backwards, but you can see even down to his stem or the way that his forks are, it's traditional as in terms of the way a lot of other street riders are out there.
Yes, exactly.
Look at Moto right there.
Moto really having a nice run here, getting a lot of big link combinations here.
Back at it. Look at that. Stepping.
Cross-legged.
Yep, the cross-leg guillotine. Really hard move, having those legs cross over the top tube.
He even had that pump going on.
Yeah,
his legs
totally.
crossed, showing you how much control the Japanese rider has.
He's back at it. He wants that one. That's one of the big tricks in his routine. Look at that. Yes, finally nailing that one into the wheelchair. And he's saving it. Oh, yes.
So right there, you mentioned saving. Those were your words.
Yes.
Where very different than Benjamin Hudson's second leg, where he jumped to the pedals and stomped down. At the end there, it didn't look like that was 100% that he had to game plan, but he didn't put his foot down.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that going to impact the score at all?
Totally. You know, he's totally saving that trick.
But it would be better than putting your feet down, obviously.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or than crashing, obviously. He's back at it, and he wants that one. He wants to pull it clean all the way. He has a little more than what he showed earlier. He has that one extra trick to finish things. Yeah, he's going to be right on the clock, pumping it. Ah, that's a shame. A bit of a hit and miss. He had a solid out front, and then the remaining of it was a bit of a hard time for him. Let's see what the judges think. I'm really curious of what they're going to get. Because so far the first two riders were a bit of a hit and miss. And Moto made a difference right there with really hard combos. Really technical. A lot of, again, original moves. Like all of these moves are signature Moto. You know, none of the other guys are doing it that way, at least. That's so hard right there. That cross-footed guillotine with the cross-legged over the top tube is really tricky to get into and really tricky to keep. As you mentioned, that pumping moves, keep that motion going.
Well, we're definitely keeping the motion going out here. You can see we're waiting for our score to come in. Look at that flag. We've got our UCI flag just blowing in the wind right there. I know for our BMX park course, the wind can really impact a rider if you're going airborne. But does that impact if you're on the flatland?
Totally. Just not as bad as, you know, the park guys, obviously, since we're not flying.
So do they have to then, let's say if there's an inconsistent wind, what would that feel like if you're trying to do some of these combos?
It all depends on your move and your position, obviously, but it's
you'd have
a
to
bit harder.
compensate a little bit, and you'd have to kind of try to work through that.
Totally.
We'll wait for our score.
That gets him in the second place, just behind Ikeda.
So he's going to get a 62.66. Sasaki, the Japanese rider, sitting there. But we're keeping the party rolling as we move to our fourth rider. This is our 2017 defending champion. We're talking about none other than Jean-William Prevot. Now, if you mention a BMX Flatland, and you're talking about 2017, this was one of the most dominant riders out there.
He was the man of 2017. He won every important contest. He won the Nora Cup, so he's, you know, recognized by his peers. And he's just for a long time, he's had the hardest tricks, but was never consistent at the contest. And now he's just got everything. You know, he's consistent, hard, original, everything the judges want to see. And if he has a good day, he's pretty sure to get it home. You know?
Wow, so you're talking about the tricks we might potentially see. You're going to say the level of difficulty might be that much more increased compared to some of the other riders?
Totally. Like this move right there. Just from the get-go, each and every of those positions are really tricky, you know. And he licks him at high speed. Look at that, incredible cross-footed links in and out. And look at this. This is just really hard to hold as a position, and he nails it into an Undertaker, rolling it.
Wow, that was a rolling into an Undertaker right there.
Yes.
So he actually had the downside of his bike where he had to keep his arms at a length distance to have that tire get that.
Look at that,
clearance.
doing it again in the turbine, which means he's going back and forth, doing like 4 moves at the same time, all the while rolling, you know.
Now we're seeing the Canadian out here. He definitely has a tall, lanky frame as far as his body goes. That Undertaker, with somebody that's maybe a little bit shorter or not have the length on their limbs, would they be able to do a trick like that?
Not really, and that's why, you know, your riding really depends on how you are as a person. And for example, Alex Jumelin was a bit shorter. He's not going to have the same riding at all than, let's say, Matthias, who's like a lot bigger guy.
Oh, look at that fancy footwork. He was just hopping right
And
to
right
left
now
foot.
is just killing it. Oh boy, what a run going on right now for Jen William, having a great day. And as I said, when he's on one of those rolls, it's just unbeatable right now. You know?
And John William really seems to act back to the audience as well when they're in their top form, cheering him on. He really seems to take that into his riding style and express it.
Now, Ryan, you talked about bike setup. One thing we're noticing here, his tires seem to be a little bit maybe thinner than some of the other riders out there. What kind of impact does that have?
As you can see, his riding is really dynamic and really tight, you know, tight circles, and that helps, you know, keeping that motion going in those tight circles. And yeah, each rider has the bike, they really depends on the riding they have, you know. They set it up so it serves them the best.
So we're seeing the Canadian here with a completely different style than the Japanese. He's back wheel focused, I believe, every single trick. Look at that glide right there with no hands.
No hands, wow.
Can he keep the link going?
He wants it.
Oh, here we
And
go.
that's a huge one once again. Big numbers coming his way. Look at that, finishing with the bang. Huge time machine. Whoa.
What a combination right there. Are you kidding? That's putting it all on the line. That combo is one of the longest we've seen so far.
Yes, and as I said, each of those tricks in that combo are just insane. Finishing with a huge Undertaker once again.
How about a
He's
nice
happy.
exclamation point at the end of your run, about 7 seconds, throwing the Undertaker in.
Yeah.
He's happy.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And so there we go. Jean-William Prevot was the last of our first heat. We are going to have a short break, I believe, a 4-minute break as the other competitors warm up. But let's take
Look at that
a
once again.
replay.
That's the Undertaker we're talking about.
Just such a beautiful trick that JW
That body positioning, like we talked about, the fact that he has the height for his advantage, you could just see the way that his bike is absolutely maxed out in distance from him, but able to keep that balance point, which is so difficult. So we're waiting for our scores to come in. You could just see the Japanese crowd really starting to fill up here at our FISE World Series. We have our top 4 qualifiers who have yet to ride, and they are going to have a few moments to warm things up.
Yes, just can't wait for Joe Williams' score and see what he gets, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get in the 90s over there.
Well, the score to currently beat is a 64.33. Akita, the Japanese rider, currently has. We're going to see if our defending champion is able to top that score.
Ooh,
And
that's
there
an
you go.
83.
83-3 though. That's definitely good enough for first place by a landslide right now over Ikeda. We're going to have to wait and see how that will hold amongst our next competitors. You see there.
And they're big ones.
Yeah, these are legends of the sport. And the other thing that's really cool, too, the fact that FISE is on this global level, not only with our 5 stops that we're doing on our series, but there's so many riders who are checking in through our social media. If you didn't get a chance to do so yet, you can at FISE World, or you could check us out on Facebook, FISE.official. And the reason I bring that up is so many riders are checking in right now, sending us messages. I know that Chad DeGroot down in Florida is currently watching right now. Big shout out to legend Chad DeGroot. We've got all of our New York Flatland scene. I know Aaron Brown and a bunch of the other Flatlanders are cheering on, really excited about all the action and just cheering on their favorite riders.
And of course, we have so many other disciplines of sports happening out here at the FISE. It's the second day of competition, but if you guys are tuning in online, if you're at FISEWorldSeries.com or on any of our respective channels online, make sure you guys stay tuned, because today we have a long list of events still coming your way. Let's take a look at some more action that's yet to happen. So far, we'll be having some more events happening out here in Hiroshima. FISE World Series skate, the inline roller freestyle park. So as you see up here, the roller freestyle park finals is going to be happening at 1:55, and then moving forward, the UCI BMX freestyle park World Cup finals. Our main event at 3:40 for you guys over in the UK. I believe that's going to be 7:40 a.m. And for everyone in the Americas, I believe that is a minus 16 hours from us. So do your math. I'm not super good at that on the go, but if you guys want to as well watch replays, go check out our YouTube channel. You just go over to YouTube, type in FISE, that's F-I-S-E, and you'll find all our video content posted up there. As well, Facebook is at FISE.official, and our Twitter and Instagram is at FISE World. Make sure you hashtag your posts FWS2018 to stay in touch with all the action on FISE World Series this year. And for this one in particular, FISE Hiroshima. That's FISE-HIROSHIMA to stay involved with all the action out here today. If you guys want to follow any of us online as well, be sure you go over to Instagram or Facebook and do that. Daryl now is his respective handle. Lionel, do you have a handle you would like anyone to follow? No, he's off grid.
Yep.
I think off grid is the new on grid.
Yes.
You guys can check our social media handles for the FISE at the bottom right hand corner of your screen right now. If you guys want to send me a message about anything you hear me say wrong, you want to have a little conversation about things you hear on the live streams, make sure you can do that as well at late night. Next riders in the gate is going to be none other than the legendary man himself, the one competitor in the FISE history who's competed in every single one of the FISE stops. Alex Jumelon.
There is.
There he is, the man who reinvents himself year and year again.
Oh yeah, totally different styles compared to the other guys. You know, we mentioned earlier the shorter size, different riding, more of an explosive riding, you know, shorter lengths, but really hard, like really technical moves each and every time that require a lot of energy out of Alex.
Yeah, you just mentioned energy. Look at the force on his front wheel, how he's able to whip that back end around. You can just see the confidence, power, and also just putting it together with the finesse. Those are not three things to have. It's almost maybe like a fighter in the ring who's got the power and speed when they need it, but they can really be very graceful on their feet.
Exactly. And the thing is, Alex has such a bag of tricks and such experience that he can rely on, you know, whenever things go wrong or might go wrong, you know, he can always get back on his feet, and that's his talent right there. That's his force on the course. Oh, that's something I was waiting to see. That G-turn to nose wheelie. A bit of an elusive trick right there.
Nose wheelie both ways there in that G-turn.
Yeah, going back, forth, and back, and
then
forth.
And back again.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one one for the judges.
And so this one actually is the first time that we have seen it in points building contests at the FISE. He did unleash it in Saudi Arabia a couple weeks ago for us. Wow, just such nose wheelie control there.
Yep, look at that, switching his body around 180, grabbing his end, switch hand, and going back into the max circle cross-footed. That's really into the details, you know, that what makes the difference with Alex is it's all in the details. Look at that, so much control. Everything you see right there is pure Alex Jumelin too, just as the other riders we've seen previous. And back into that nose wheelie action.
Half bar spin.
Yes. Oh yeah, there it is. So hard to get into that from almost no speed. Getting that motion rolling is just incredible.
Now, I called out the half bar spin there because his geometry would completely change on his bike with his bar spinning backwards.
Decade out. Yes.
So Jumelin right now looking at the clock, knowing that he only has a few moments left. We're talking about the 20 seconds. His handlebars are backwards. He's on that back peg. You see him looking for that front tire.
Yeah, look at that. Going all the way around the top tube. Yes.
Getting up and close and personal right there. You see him just backing into our cameraman with 3, 2, 1, and that is time for Jumelin.
All right, that's going to be a tough one for the judges.
Yeah. So Jumelin right there putting down his 3 minutes, his own personal finesse. Ryan, you talked about being the only rider who's competed in every single one of our feast stops from the inception. That means that none other than Lionel Cardoza here must have competed against Alex Jumelin in 1997.
Yep.
And seeing as you won our inaugural contest, that doesn't have to say who came out on top. Obviously, it was you right there. But how is this watching a fellow rider over 20 years later who's still competing? How difficult is that for a rider to still have their head in the game so many years later?
Wow, well, in the case of Alex, he's been getting better over the years, and that's the crazy thing. It's for the longest time he was always struggling to get those podiums. You know, like 10 years ago, he was always finishing 7th, 8th, 9th, even though he was one of the hardest working men in business. You know, and now he's finally getting paid for all these hard work. You know, all these years of
That's awesome to hear, because not only did he finish 4th overall in 2017, which is a huge accomplishment. The fact
40 years old.
Yeah, that's enormous. But also the fact that he's been so instrumental in FISE, having Flatland be a part of our Action Sports Festival and really being a voice for the riders and just including everyone around the world and saying, you know what, Flatland does have a voice here. It's going to be represented equally, if not louder, than BMX Park, which sometimes would have a dominant role. And we talked about here in Japan, it's actually one of the highlights as far as our crowds, numbers, and respect as riders coming out to compete.
Yes. And he's been instrumental in developing Flatland at the UCI, you know, getting recognized above the level of just BMX.
Well, you talked about it being challenging. We got our 3 judges up in the tower right now trying to come up with the score.
And there it is. You have a new leader, Alex Jumelin, moving up top with an 86.50. Bumps out Jean-William Prevot from his hot seat position. Not a hard task, a very hard task to do, pardon me. You know, the question actually, Lionel, I want to ask is, seeing Alex Jumelin come out on top like that, pushing time and time again, a previous competitor of yourself, does it ever make you want to feel like you're going to come back and we're going to have another contest rival?
Not really. The thing is, Alex never quit, you know. He's been riding consistently every day through all these years. 30 years we're talking. 30 years of riding every day, 4 or 5, 6 hours a day, you know. And now we move on to this man right here, legendary here in Japan. He's the equivalent of Alex here in Japan, Hiro Moritaki. Such a legend on the scene. He's always been pushing Flatland to new levels. And just right there, all these moves
Oh,
are
yes.
his own.
Another rider who's in his 40s as well. Look at that. So you talked about, you said as far as a rider, he said he didn't quit. Obviously, you're a lifetime BMX rider. It's in your blood. I know that you still can get on your bike and crush it. But what you're talking about is riding at the highest level where you're pushing yourself on a daily basis, putting in countless hours, giving blood in the streets, practicing in your own zone, and pushing forward. So for the Japanese rider to be 40 years old, doing this his entire lifetime, keeping his metaphoric blade sharp, ready for battle, that's another very impressive feat.
Yes, look at that. Still pushing it after all these years. And look at it. Whoa! Yes! Nice and clean way to finish this huge combo right there for Hiro. Wow, wouldn't want to be a judge right now. That's going to be a tough one.
It's a nice aerial view, actually.
Look at that huge jump straight. The switch foot, max circle from the back wheel.
On that balance point right here. Oh!
Yeah, there it is. Ah, this is sick.
Wow, you can see when he's pumping around, that back end of the bike is just going up and down with the speed heads
Look
building
at that one,
on the
yes.
front wheel.
Yes, look at that. Going back and forth in a turbine crawl cruiser and out. Off whipping it. Incredible Hiro. Having a great day right now.
Yeah, he is. I love how global and international BMX Flatland is. We have Scott Powell, another legend, checking in all the way from Chengdu, cheering on all of our riders out here.
And the crowd, look at that crowd. Beautiful. Cheering for their owns.
We've got our on-field MC Quet right there, getting
Yes.
everybody super excited, being the conduit between the energy of the crowd and the riders.
Brand new out of Hiro right there. Catching his peg and his back.
Got final moments here. We're talking about 10 seconds.
Wow, already. There it is. Oh, he wants it, but that's going to be a bit too short of a time to get it done. Oh.
Wow.
Definitely a hard one for the judges as Hiro still hit its staple lengths and kind of missed on the new ones, which is always good for the judges to get those new tricks in, obviously.
So how important is that, new tricks that we're about to see?
Look at that. Well, it's always good to the judges, you know, just as spark. If you witness a world first, that's going to get you big in the scores, you know, obviously.
So a world first, because you don't want to necessarily be judged against yourself. If it's a new trick that the world has never seen, or at least in competition,
Yes.
then it might be rewarded more. So I want to ask you this. We actually had Alex Jumelin jump into that top spot as we're still waiting for our last score to come in. Alex had a couple of touchdowns. I don't have the official count in front of me, but it seemed like a couple more maybe than Jean-William Prevot, and his score was rewarded higher. Does that mean that the level of trick difficulty might have been a little bit different than Jean-William, or how important is that touchdown as far as the ratio that we're talking?
It's that's where it gets really tricky for the judges because you're comparing styles, you know,
Okay.
not only difficulty but also styles. And how do you compare someone that's gonna do like a clean run but with easier tricks than with someone that's had really hard trick with touches, you know? And that's all down to the artistic side of Flatland, you know? Just as you'd compare Picasso to whatever other painter, you know?
Well, I like the idea that you're talking about some of the best known artists in the world, because if you're going to do that with BMX Flatland, you're going to bring up our next rider, Vicky Gomez. My phone right now blowing up with all New York City riders that I have a chance to ride with who are going nuts right now cheering on Vicky Gomez. I know Aaron Brown in New York is going wild right now, waiting to see Vicky drop in with 3 minutes to go.
There it is. It was on top form yesterday for semifinals. Hopefully it's going to be the same today.
Look how smooth. That was so fluid right there. Wow.
That's the same as Vicky. He's been reinventing himself over and over, and he's had such an incredible bag of tricks. I think that's the one rider I know that can do all the tricks that exist. You know, he has so much possibilities, and sometimes he's even freestyling it. That's the hard thing, you know. When he's out of confidence, he just goes for it, and it flows out of him. Since he's had so much experience and so many tricks under his belt. And right now he's having a blast of a run. This first minute is just perfect for him.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, Vicky is such a creative rider on and off his bike. You could actually see his entire life come together on his Instagram. If you give him a follow, it's Vicky Gomez BMX.
That's a really hard one right there, the bar flip.
Where Vicky's got some really cool, unique photo projects. You can see him riding around in his hometown and also around the globe, where he just brings really cool style. And Ryan, that's what you and I always talk about in the BMX park, where someone can take a trick and really make it their own. And we're seeing the control out of Vicky doing that right now as he rounds with 1 minute and 30 to go.
Yeah, really creating that individuality there is as well a unique way of doing this.
Yes, saving that one combo, going all the way. He had a little more planned, but still nailing it, and that's what counts for the judges. Another 1 minute on that clock, a little over 1 minute.
Now, Gomez, definitely a veteran of the sport, and you could just see that in his approach out here. Very cool, calm, collected. Even in his subtle little movements, you could just see he's completely in control.
Yes, you can tell he's really been working on his mental side of things lately, you know, the last 2-3 years, I'd say. And some of these guys are getting into mental coaching, you know, because at some point technique is not enough. You got to go above that plateau that you might encounter doing your tricks or learning new tricks.
Well, with that experience, though, you know, he is a 6-time world champion. He also has won 2 European X Games gold medals.
Yes, look at that full bar spin steamroller.
Wow, and he's definitely a favorite among his peers because on the Rider 1 event of Nora Cup, he has 3 of them to his name.
Yes.
Wow, look at this
incredible
control.
length this one.
Right there was that kick flip, was just incredible.
Just no hands.
Yeah.
Into that.
Going
Yes.
cross-footed,
that was
hitchhiker
smooth.
out. What a length.
He looked impressed with that one as well.
Yes, looking at the clock, he knows he's got to go for it. It's going to be out. And that's it, finishing with a bang, Vicky style. He's happy, you can tell. He's had a good run. Will that be enough to beat Mr. Alex Jumelin? We're going to see in just a couple seconds. Once again, a tough one for the judges. He's had an almost touchless run. Look at that, saving it, getting some speed back, going into that death struck right there. No-ended, spinning death struck. And that, oh, incredible. Kick flip, steamroller into an halfbacker. Yes, and one of those backpacker to cross-footed hitchhiker out. Super technical.
So we're waiting for scores to come in for Vicky Gomez, and we still have 1 rider yet to go. But as it currently sits, Alex Jumelin is in that top spot with an 86.5. Jean-William Prevot is in second with an 83.33. And then the Japanese rider, Hiroya Morizaki, has a 69.83. So we're going to see if Gomez can up the score. Again, the score to beat is an 86.5. To be on that podium, he needs higher than a 69.83, but we still have 1 rider yet to go. You can see warming up out there as scores are taking a moment to come in. This is no easy task.
Yes, and as I said earlier, you know, you're comparing an almost touchless run, that of Vicky's, and with, you know, maybe a Jan Williams who's had really hard tricks, but a lot of touches and a lot of uncompleted combos. So let's see what the judges think. And That's really hard to compare, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about artists out there, and you're not even necessarily talking about the final painting. You're talking about their brush strokes and their technique.
I mean,
so we see Vicky out here just having so much bike control. Scores coming
there
in, and we have a new
is-
leader. 89.
Oh, yes.
9.16.
That is
Vicky
exciting.
Gomez.
That is exciting. Oh yes,
Oh,
well
jumping to the
deserved.
top of the pack right now. Gomez, 89.16. Jumelin currently sitting in second with an 86.50, and that means Jean-William Prevot is going to be an 83.33. So regardless, Gomez and Jumelin will be podium. Prevot could potentially be knocked back.
And then there was just one more athlete, one last competitor, a man who he said is trying to get back on the horse this year and keep it up on top. He seems to be on fire, qualifying first yesterday. This is none other than Matthias Dondois, doing it, the last rider of the day out here for the BMX Freestyle Flatland Finals. And look at that beautiful rear wheel spin right there.
Wow, you can
Making it
see
look easy.
his feet were on the pedals and his front end was completely straight up and down to have that balance point.
This is just, you know, I was talking to Alexis Desaulniers, one of the judges. He told me that position to hold is just impossible. And Matthias is doing several spins. Look at that signature Matthias no-handed off-backer right there. The crowd loving that. That's definitely a crowd favorite.
Yeah, Matthias is just not only a tremendous rider, but he's got the personality to match. Yeah, look at that. Lighten up the crowd. Big smile on his face, just feeding off the energy and feeling the Japanese love and support out here.
And we were talking about size earlier, you know. Matthias' size, like being a big guy like this, really tall, really makes a difference in his riding. He takes a lot of amplitude. He uses almost the whole Flatland course right there. And some of his moves, you know, his body helps the way he moves across, you know, the whole floor and also on his bike. And that makes it even more impressive, you know, when he rides, because he's so big, you know, and the crowd really appreciates that. It makes everything massive. Look at that, finishing his link with a bang. He's gonna go all the way, Matthias Stahl. Yes, he's stoked. He's really definitely on the roll today.
Riders are checking in around the world. Matthias, one of the guys who will actually ride a lot of BMX street. He was just in California, staying with his Haro teammates. I know that Dennis Enerson right now is checking in, saying, "Go, Matthias, go," as he is rounding that 60-second mark.
Bringing some new flavor lately, and that's part of it right there. And that's what the judges want, you know. Matthias, for a bit of a time, was doing the same routine in and out, and was missing a bit of a new factor, you know, some of that freshness.
Was the handlebar balancing into his leg right there?
Yeah, right there. And the one that's, oh yes, going to that jump. Yep. Crossfitted wheelchair, pulling it once again with the bar spin out.
Wow, Matthias really getting some solid links.
And look at that, we're talking about a perfect run so far, only 28 seconds on the clock. He's doing it, living the dream. And that's the new one. We've been waiting over and over. Look at that.
Frame here.
Spinning backward with one hand.
Which is amazing.
Wow, he's pulling it. Ooh, yes, that's going to be a toughie for the judges. Oh boy, look at that. Out! With the cap 540, bringing that street flavor. That's a huge run out of Matthias.
He knows it himself. That was near flawless. Wow.
He's happy. You can tell. Look at that. So much power in that run.
Look at the sea of Japanese fans out here. Matthias from France, and in Japan, there's such a big flatland scene. I've seen it firsthand. I've had an opportunity to ride with Matthias a lot. Whenever there's Japanese riders around, you can see the emotion, the appreciation, the love, the support. And Matthias got all of that as we look at our highlights.
Oh yes, big 360
Oh, I
off
love
cam.
this
And that
first one, honestly. I
backward
think
spin.
it's so cool.
Yep.
This as well, where he
Even
balances. Just the points where he finds the ability to balance a bike on his leg there, and so many different connections.
Huge 540 cab to finish things like perfect.
But let's not forget the amazing run of Vicky Gomez, which
Yep.
is sitting on top of the board right now with an 89.16 as well. Alex Jumelon so close behind there with an 86.5.
Let's see what it's gonna be.
Really gonna have to leave it up to the judges here and see what it's gonna come down to. I think nitty-gritty ankle biting is gonna be there for Vicky Gomez.
Now, Vicky Gomez got such a high score because it was so well-rounded. He used the front end, the back end of his bike.
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily dominated on one spot or one technique. But Matthias Dandois, like you said, had a near
brought the
flawless
energy.
run.
Yeah, and he
Near
brought that
flawless.
energy.
He even had that street 540 cab at the end. You could see one of his mentors when he was younger, and to this day, riding partners, Alex Jumelin, coming over and giving some support as we're waiting for our scores to come in.
Yes. The only difference I see right now is the energy that Matthias brought in the riding, where Vicky was a bit more hesitant, you know.
Yes.
Matthias was confident, a lot of power.
There are many moments, if you would re-watch Vicky Gomez's run, where he was coming almost to a standstill. Not that he was wavering or anything. This is just his style in itself. But you can just notice that with Matthias, he's just on a roll, and it seems to be this wave that he's riding right into the finish line as that clock ticks down. It's two completely different riding styles, two completely different art forms, will you? But this is
comparing Rolling Stones to Beatles. You know?
exactly. It's going to be a personal preference. And I mean, let's take a look at some replays actually from what we've actually witnessed already today.
All right, Ikeda, spin master right there.